Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up an audio recorder when I drop my kids off at school and deliver an episode to you while I'm walking home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, good morning. I am recording this episode on March 22nd. It is roughly 8:15 in the morning. It is chilly. I see out east they had a big snowstorm. Here it's sunny. It's deceptively cold. Deceptively cold. It is colder than it looks. My nose is chilly. My fingers are tingly. I do have hat and gloves on, but I did not wear my winter coat. I couldn't bear to wear my winter coat in March, so I'm suffering in the cold. I've also got my jacket zipped halfway down because that's where I have to clip the microphone so I don't blow out your eardrums. And so I'm suffering for my art. Appreciate it. Today I thought I would talk about something that's coming up for me next week. Next week I am probably this podcast will come out on Monday. So this week, later this week, I am attending and helping to run a large academic conference, the Popular Culture Association annual meeting. I enjoy that conference quite a bit and am involved in the group. I hope to see some of you there, perhaps. Say hello if you are there. I don't know why you would be unless you're an academic, but maybe you are. There is certainly some overlap between professors and board games. So one of the things that I've started at that group that I enjoy helping to run is a game night. Each year we have a game night. It's usually on Friday night. It goes from 8 till midnight. People bring games, play games. And it's interesting because we have some people who come and they've never played anything like a hobby board game. And so they're expecting to play Pictionary or Taboo, that sort of thing. And then there are other people who are hobby board gamers who are looking to play all sorts of stuff. I don't think I've ever seen a serious strategy game get played at one of these events. I'm thinking about bringing one this year just to see if I can make it happen. However, I am very excited to bring some of the lighter party style games, which I'm excited to have get played. So I thought today I would talk a little bit about the games I'm going to bring, which games I'm expecting to see get played and see success with. I'll start with games that I've played before at this kind of event and move on to others. So one of my favorites is a game called Happy Salmon. Happy Salmon is a 6-person card game. I'm thinking about ordering the Blue Salmon expansion. In fact, I think I might do that when I get home today. It's Thursday, so it should get here before I leave, which allows you to go up to 12 players. The idea of Happy Salmon is you stand around a table and your goal is to, you can look at Happy Salmon is a delight. It is a fun party game. It involves running around, so it's not 100% accessible. I think we've talked about this before. But Happy Salmon is always a delight at these kinds of events if you can get people to play, because it is just a riot, a really good time. So Happy Salmon, that would be one. I also generally have a lot of success with One Night Ultimate Werewolf. I'll be bringing that just in case people want to try that one out. I also have One Night Daybreak in there, which adds more character roles and actually gets a little overstuffed, to my opinion. I think One Night Ultimate Werewolf works best just as straight One Night Ultimate Werewolf without the extra stuff in it. I'm definitely bringing Codenames and Codenames pictures. They keep those in one box. Those will be a good one to have. Although my one argument against bringing that would be that it's pretty likely someone else will. And so if I bring a copy of a game that someone else has, there's always a chance for a mix-up. And so I'd rather not do that. I'd like to bring Ladies and Gentlemen. If you haven't played that, it's a game from, I think, 2015, maybe 2014. And it's a weird game. So I think we've talked about it a little bit before. It's a Victorian-era satire. So players either are a lady trying to buy a really nice outfit for the ball, or men trying to earn enough money to pay for all of the fancy things the lady wants. The game has limited communication and you work in teams, a pair of lady and men. So it's heteronormative, of course, and really stupid. But it's pretty funny, especially if you get like a big burly guy begging for a new purse. I don't know why that's funny, but it generally is. So, ladies and gentlemen can often be a fun one to bring. Party games in general work. Someone almost always brings a copy of Cards Against Humanity, although I gave away or sold that game a long time ago. I would be inclined to bring a game of Things, which is, I think, the best of the do something and then judge something kinds of games. If you haven't played that one, I think I've mentioned it before, but I don't know if I've explained it. In that one, there's a question. It could be something like, what's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done? Or name one embarrassing thing you've ever done. Or name your favorite moment from a book. Or there's all sorts of things. And each player gets a little slip of paper and they fill out their answer. And the person who's the head judge that time, they read all the answers aloud and they decide, and then people go around the table and try to indicate who said a particular thing. So let's say there's 6 people playing, everybody writes down something, the judge reads all 6 answers, and then the person to the left of the judge says, I think so-and-so said this one. And if they're right, they get that slip and that's a point. And they get to go again. If they're wrong, play passes to the next person who then guesses one. And you keep going until all the slips have been assigned to the person who wrote them. Then the next person becomes the arbiter for that round. It's more fun than the other do something and judge games for 2 reasons. One, no one person is the judge the whole time. You're constantly working, and it's really more of a game because you're trying to identify who said what rather than just which one's the funniest. And the second one is that you actually do some real work or something really interesting in the game. Whereas the game that has the game like Apples to Apples or Cards Against Humanity that has a judge roll, usually you have a hand of cards or something and you're picking a card to go with a card. So a prompt comes out and you pick an answer that you think the judge will think is funny. The problem is, generally you get like 2 or 3 choices, and I guess there's some game there, but it's not really a game. That's one of those things where once you have read all the cards a couple times, if it's a game that's supposed to be funny, it loses a significant amount of its humor. So I think the value of a judge game is much lower in the long run. I also just don't think it's as interesting. Choosing one of the 3 cards just isn't, for me, a very exciting choice to make in a game, or significant choice to make in a game. So, if I were going to bring a judge game, I would bring the game of Things. The downside of that is, if you don't know the people you're playing with, it's very hard to actually have the game of Things function, because you need to be able to know what other people are going to say. So it's not great in that way. I'm going to bring one trivia game. I recently found I had a really good day at the Goodwill. I found an old Rio Grande game, or an old Mayfair game called Dos Rios, 2 Rivers. It's decently rated on Board Game Geek, and it was $2, so I thought I would give it a try. I also found a trivia game that I've only seen occasionally, but it's really cool. It's called Linky, and the way it works is each card has like 3 or 4 questions on it. And the way it goes is that the person who's reading the questions reads the question, and everyone thinks of the answer silently in their head. Then they read another question, and you think of the answer silently in your head. And the idea is the answers together will be sort of keywords for a subject, and the subject is the answer to the card. So you might have a question like, what's a card that comes with a pack of playing cards that people don't usually use? The second question could be, what's a plant you definitely don't want to wipe your bottom with? The third question could be, when I'm eating out at mid-priced chain food, I like to eat it red blank. So the answers to those questions, so the answer, of course, is Batman. The answers to those questions being Joker, Poison Ivy, Robin. So you see there, the answers lead you toward a solution. So Linky is a game, and again, I found that at Goodwill for $2. I'm very excited to get to try that out. And it wasn't the small box copy either. It was like the big party box. So really a good find. So that's a trivia game I'm going to bring. In terms of other party games, the best game that I like to bring to an event like this is Two Rooms and a Boom. Two Rooms and a Boom is a party game for up to 99 players, I guess the game says. I've never played in a group that big. I've definitely played in groups close to 30, and it's super fun. The way the game works, you get a card, and it puts you on either the red team or the blue team, or there's a gray team also. The red team is trying to win by having the bomber end up in the room with the president at the end of the game. The blue team is trying to win by having the president not be in the room with the bomber. And you divide the group into two teams, or two rooms, and then 5 times over the course of 15 minutes, people get moved from one room to another in successively shorter timelines. And each person gets a card that puts them on the thing. And the basic game is pretty fun anyway, but then we add all of these extra roles, and the extra roles make it more complicated. They make it harder to figure out what's going on. They give you different things you have to do, different win conditions, and it just becomes really fun. And it is a great game. It's really fun to play over the course of, 3 games over the course of an hour is really fun. It takes about 15 minutes to play. And before the first play, it usually takes about 10 minutes to explain the whole thing. So it's really good. I'm definitely bringing that, and I'm very excited because I finally actually have my own copy. Up till now, I've been playing with a print and play because the people who made it released it as a Creative Commons print and play, so you could make your own copy if you wanted to try it out or just because. And I had made a copy a while ago and was playing with that for a long time. But finally the game came back in print around the same time that I had some Amazon points to spend. So I bought myself a copy, and I am very happy to have it. And actually, the cards they're a nice kind of plastic, which is good because these cards get handled more than cards in almost any game I've ever played. But people bend them, and I still wasn't super keen on that. So then I actually bought sleeves as well, and I've sleeved the game, which is something I rarely do. But this is the sort of game where the cards can get ruined really easily if people aren't being careful with them. So that's that. The last game that I wanted to mention today that I'm going to bring with me is something that takes a while to play, so we'll probably play it at the end of the night. But it's a game called Survival of the Witless, Publish or Perish. And it's basically a game about being a professor, particularly a professor in the humanities department in the late 90s. And it's really biting satire of the kinds of things professors have to do. There's a lot of jokes about the idea of privilege, and there's jokes about sleeping with grad students, and the whole thing is about sort of publishing a lot to try to get tenure. You have to get the tenure committee to like you. And one of the big things about the game is that if your character is good at teaching, that actually hurts you because then more students want to take your classes and you don't have time to write. And writing is the thing that gets you tenure. It's interesting to see how that continues to be an issue as the game goes along, or as the world goes along for the professors. So Survival of the Witless is a thing I think we'll try out if I can get a few people to play it with me. Well, I think that wraps it up for me today. What games do you think I should bring when I go to my con? What would you bring to play with a bunch of professors, a lot of whom have never played a hobby game before? What would you try out? Let me know. You can reach me by Twitter at RattleboxGames, by email, brendan@rattleboxgames.com, or you can post on BoardGameGeek, where my username is Wombat929. I wouldn't mind having a conversation going there. I do have a thread about pick up and deliver that I update about once every 2 weeks. So if you wanted to comment there, that would be the best way to get a hold of me probably. And the best way to help other people find the show because it's getting conversation. So hope to see you there. Well, thanks for joining me. I hope that your next walk outside is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
to you by Rattlebox Games.